So where do you see Western country in the next 5 years?
That one's obvious. I don't even have to. This is not an assumption. Western countries. I mean, the inflation's not going anywhere.
They tell lies about China terrorized minor.
Yeah, this before boy. Tonton pas ou quoi? Ça va se savoir. Et bah. Et dit qu'on fait. Et dit y'a pas fait.
It takes courage and strong mind to leave your hometown, to come to a place that is vastly different from everything you know. And one of those people is Johnny. In the previous episode, we discussed about his transition to life in China, language barrier, and of course settling in and safety of China. Listen, this guy is full of wisdom, my friend. I'm fully aware there are people, most likely foreigners, that hate the ideas of black people leaving or relocating to China. And some will say black people will make China dangerous. Pure rubbish. China will always be safe, with or without black people or foreigners.
This is great. This is China, man. This is China. Look at this baby here. Oh, you want to stay? Hello. I've been here. This is awesome, man. I love it. This is fantastic. People are happy, amazing, safe. Look at the baby, mesmerized. There you go.
I tell you, this is extremely safe out here. Definitely one of the safest countries I've been in. And I like that. That tells me that I can, feel more at peace and more relaxed as I'm going about my life. And that's a big thing when you're trying to, migrate or live elsewhere. You want to feel secure and you want to feel safe. So you definitely get that in China.
Absolutely. You are solid, mate. You're very sound when it comes towards some of the things I've already experienced here. Basically, what do you think of safety in terms of moving around, in terms of transportation wise? Have you used any of the the infrastructure here? Of course, I'm pretty sure you have. So what's your take on that in China here? So
you have a few different methods for getting around. You've got the metro system, which works really well. You've got the taxis, which are very affordable, and again, that might be the one thing you might say, okay, they drive a little bit crazy here. Yeah, but you obviously got the bikes as well. So ni hao. You've got the bikes here. No comment. You've got the bikes out here, which people tend to use a lot. I use them to go to work. I use them to ride around. The weather's good, like today. It's really nice to get out and sort of explore your city. But yeah, there's a couple different modes of transportation you can use in China. So it's a very flexible city as far as moving around and having good use of transport for sure. And there's scooters as well. You yourself have one. There's many different methods of transport here.
That way is the e-scooter, So do you prefer that, green energy, or
are we saving the planet?
Oh, you're saving the planet.
You know, I was an environmentalist. No, I'll tell you this, I'm a very active person, so the one thing I've done the most outside of walking is using the bikes. It's just good fitness, and it's a great way to explore the city. So obviously I live in Tianjin, that's the city I'm in. So using the bikes, which are very accessible and very affordable, has been a great way to get around the city and see some really cool sights. So that's my go-to method of transport. I did use taxis when I first started, but once you start to get more familiar, you can kind of find your way through using a bike to get around.
Oh, that's calm. Yeah, it's true. The Alipay bikes, I think I was using that quite a lot, honestly, and it's actually quite sick. How much you pay for that?
The blue Alipay bikes?
The blue ones,
so you know what, I've been on those bikes for anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, and you'll probably end up paying something like 4 or 5 RMB. So for anyone watching, if you're in the UK or America, that would probably equate to that might be less than £1, less than $1. So imagine riding around on a bike for about an hour or so.
You can
explore a lot, and you spent less than £1.
Bro, you know what? Yeah, you can actually do a sign up as well, yeah, on the Alipay
Oh,
for
that's
just
right,
£1
yeah.
for a month.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
There you go. So that's even better.
Yeah, yeah.
So a month of riding,
Yeah.
right, for that little. So yeah, it's extremely affordable, and they're fast and they're safe. The brakes work really well. They test them, and you see the guys literally loading them onto the trucks at the end of the evenings as well. So they're obviously making sure that they've been, like, you know, tested to work correctly. Right. So yeah.
Yeah. So cost of living then. So what would you rank it with the UK?
Again, up there with the best in the world. I'm a bit of a stat person.
Yeah.
I do all like my numbers, and I'm one of those people, like, I'm big with like getting your budgeting and everything down. Before I even moved to China, I ran the numbers on expatisan.com. Give them a quick plug. Great website you can use. 73% cheaper my living costs than here than they would be in London.
Wow.
You do the maths. 73%.
And
That's just the average. Again, this goes person to person. What do you eat? Where do you live? How much does your rent cost? What are your overheads? 73% cheaper. This was a big one for me with my whole move here.
Yeah.
So when I realized how much money I'd be saving, and we all know the cost of living crisis right now for probably most people watching this, I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm saving that much when it works out like my rent, my food, all my expenses. It was crazy.
Right. Yeah. I think the rent is insane, and the quality of life you have here as well in China.
Yeah, I mean, my apartment, if I'm being honest,
Yeah.
like, again, the apartment I'm living in, it's not like a shoebox, it's a nice space.
Yeah.
For one person, you know, like a bachelor, I'm a single man,
Yeah.
I've got more than enough space. From what I understand, and I haven't seen any, but people say that the apartment size I'm in would probably be slightly bigger than what a Chinese family would have. So, you know, we're spoiled in a way when you think about it. To have that much space, and for just me, it's more than enough. It definitely covers my needs anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I totally agree. For foreigners, but then again, you have to understand we're coming very far as well.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many things that we put on the side just to be here.
That's true.
You know, so basically at the end of the day, and you have to understand as well, we get taxed a lot more higher, you know, than the locals, and then we don't have a lot of support system in place. So
pros and cons.
There's a pros and cons, you know. So definitely, if any Chinese person would think, it is not fair, well, you have to look at it. Basically, it's not like, for example, we are working here. For example, we are teachers here, right? So So what do you think about the work culture? Just a little bit, like in terms of like the UK, you know, the work-life balance you have now compared to what you used to have back in the UK.
I don't think you can even use balance in the same sentence for anyone living in the UK. Now, no disrespect, because it's where I'm from. I'm very grateful to like my home city and my home country. It gave me the education. It gave me the ability to like learn how to kind of use the system to be in this position, essentially. But that's a difficult word, because I feel like everyone's situation is unique, although there's going to be some parallels, because everyone who lives in the West, and particularly the UK, is going through the cost of living crisis. So to try and simplify my answer, I didn't really have much of a work-life balance. I felt like most people, I was working around the clock just to make ends meet, all the hours God could send. And even then, as anyone who's living there right now watching this would know, that's still just about, at most, keeps your head above water. Here, again, it was one of the big incentives for me moving here. I wanted more of a lifestyle, and I wanted more time for my other interests so that I could indulge them, so that I could work on, you know, other things I was passionate about that I didn't have time for when I was living in the UK. And I found so far, you know, as someone who's, I say, relatively productive, I've had enough time to explore other opportunities and other things I'm interested in because of the profession I chose and because of the market I now live in.
Yeah, fact. For me, for us, like, we have this incredible like schedule, you know. What do you think, like, say you're working 2 hours and then maybe someone will be like, you're doing very basic stuff, really? What's your take on that?
Well, again, it's a great conversation to have, because obviously, if you've ever read like the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, all these new age sort of ways of like deep work, and you know, people studying the human mind to see how productive they are. Does 8 hours a day, does 40 hours a week really work? I've often questioned it, and that's the way of the Western world, so there's no way around it. If you work for a company, you're probably going to punch in at least 40 hours a week, if not more now in this economy. But for me, I like the profession we're in and the company we work for, because I feel like for a few hours of the day I can actually give my best, feel like I've actually added value, supported, helped, but I don't have to feel like I've exhausted myself and had to kill myself for 8-10 hours a day just for the sake of saying I work 10 hours a day. I've always been a big believer in it's not about how much time you spend, it's about how much value you add, and like, you know, what you actually do within the work you do that makes the difference. And with what we do, I feel like regardless of the amount of hours we may or may not work, I get an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anyways, let's move away from that. Now, the last two points I'm going to talk about. You know, like you probably heard this term, decouple with China. You know the phrase, right? So decoupling, like basically Western countries, they want to stop working with China corporations or whatever, right? So what's your take on
more
that?
Politics again? Yeah, down the political road. Listen, again, it's not my area of genius, politics, and geopolitics. What I would say again is that they're going to have their own agenda, aren't they? You know, at the end of the day, we live in a capitalistic world, so if people don't want to work with China for whatever reason, that doesn't really affect me. What I will say is, though, when I understand the size and the scale of this country and all the things that they manufacture and produce, you know, there's probably a little bit of, if I had to assume, a bit of envy involved, because they have such an organized way of doing things, and they have their own way of doing things. It might be perceived as a little bit anti-Western, so of course they're going to get some, you know, some rivals and some hatred. Of course. Look, they give you a chance. That's the main thing. I think that's the takeaway I'd want someone to get out of this. They give you an opportunity to work hard, build something, but you're also taken care of, and you're treated well. You're given a fair shake. I'm not asking to be treated like a king or like a sheikh. All I'm asking for is a fair shake. And I'm not going to say, but if you're watching this, read between the lines. Are all countries in the West giving everybody a fair shake? We already know which ones probably aren't. I'm not going to say. I don't want to get slandered. But people know who are watching this. If you live in any of these places, what the climate is like right now. So yeah, I'm not going to get into why other countries want to get away from China or BRICS and all these things. Yes, I'm aware of those. That's for other people to do their research on and see where the world is headed. I'm just saying, where can I go where I can get a fair shake, live a good quality of life, work hard, and get something out of it? That's what I'm after. Fact.
Well said, man. Well put together. You know, like I'm talking about politics as well. Like on my channel, I don't really focus on that. But actually, sometimes, you know, some people was like, you know what, it's good to also like touch on something like this a little bit. Decoupling. This is the first time I mentioned something like this on my channel, and I think what you just said is just like brilliant. You know what I mean? So of course we are not politicians, and I'm not sponsored by no one. Am I paying you to say all these things?
No, these are my own opinions. I would express these on my own volition. I would tell this to someone in conversation or friends of mine. So no, I'm a free thinker. Exactly,
really. So now the last question. One second. Oh, my hands are tired, mate. So yeah, where do you see China in the next 5 years in terms of like projections?
Really, like to look into my magic ball.
So for example, that's your own view from your own lens.
From my perspective, with what I'm doing, because I can only look at, like, I guess through my own like lens, right, of what I'm doing. I think more people from the West are actually going to migrate here, and I think it's because of opportunities like what we've got. I think the situation in the West is going to worsen, and people are going to look at like markets like this and what you can achieve, what you can have out here, whether it's the money, whether it's the lifestyle, the conditions, and it's going to encourage more Western migration. Not just to China, countries like this, but if you ask China specifically, I think I see more Westerners coming over, really, and I see them trying to like make it a more, I guess, Western friendly country. It might not be in 5 years, but they've already done that. Many people just now, I was speaking to someone who was talking about how things have changed here since the Beijing Olympics. That's when it all kind of opened up, and that was what, over like 15 years ago. So my assumption would be prepared to see more people migrating to China from sort of Western countries.
Yeah, so now, just you mentioned Western countries. So where do you see Western countries in the next 5 years?
That one's obvious. I don't even have to. This is not an assumption. Western countries. I mean, the inflation's not going anywhere. The cost of living is not going anywhere. Okay, the taxes, being taxed to oblivion, is not going anywhere. What I do see is more riots, more blood in the streets, sadly, and I'm not happy about that, because obviously family and friends live in Western countries. But unfortunately, I see more suffering for people, and I feel like people that maybe can't pivot or find a skill set or figure out a new way of doing things elsewhere are going to struggle and are going to suffer, sadly.
Absolutely, man. What a legend. You said it perfectly. So now, last question. What's your plan here in China?
To take over the world. No, I'm joking. No, honestly, I'm still taking it all kind of like day by day, week by week. Honestly, I have a bit of a vision for what I want for the next few years. Foreseeably, I could see myself in China for at least the next 3 to 5 years. But let's see how it goes. I know for the foreseeable, I will likely be living somewhere in Asia. It may not be China, but I think I would possibly be in China for at least the next couple of years.